Okay, so the Green Party has released a new ad on YouTube, on BBC and ITV. Political broadcast, as they say. So me and Ben McLean are gonna react to it live.
Why does it feel like everyone's running all the time? You are, we all are, like we can never catch a breath. Rent's up, water bill's up. You dread opening that next energy bill. And when did everything become such a luxury? Going to a cafe, reading glasses are too expensive so you squint. Even going to the dentist gets put off. So you cut back and you pick up the pace. No holiday this year. Sorry kids. Living with tooth pain. You take a second job, sometimes 3, just to stay where you are. Wages stuck in 2008, prices racing ahead. You never get to see the kids, snapping at them when you do. And it's the same story all around the country. Cities, towns, villages. People working full time, still broke. Builders building houses they'll never live in. Nurses queuing up at food banks.
He must be
We're
tired.
the lucky ones, the ones with jobs. Some people can't run at all. Students buried in debt. Disabled kids denied support. Pensioners choosing which room to heat, if any. The pressure never lifts, so the rest of us run faster to help the people we love. The NHS is buckling. Our rivers are full of filth. Hopelessness sets in, and you're moving so fast, everything is just a blur. And that's when it hits you. What if the answer isn't to run faster? What if the most powerful thing we can do, all of us, all together at once, is to stop running and look around?
Damn.
Because the moment you stop running and really look, one thing becomes really clear. When the rest of us are killing ourselves to create wealth, and hardly any of it is coming back to our communities. It's going somewhere else, upwards to the pockets of the super rich. This isn't just an economic failure, it's a failure of leadership. The people we elected choose to serve the wealthy and not us. And yes, that is obscene. Good leaders put people before profit. They know homes are for living in, not landlords' portfolios. Energy is for warming those homes, not record dividends. And rivers are for nature and swimming in, not being poisoned to protect profits. And when we live well and we protect our environment, we don't burn out. It's how we grow. It's how our whole country grows. And yes, together, it's how we make hope normal again.
Good stuff. Really good stuff.
Interesting. First thoughts?
Yeah, I was supposed to pause it, but I actually felt like when we were watching it, I was just like, I don't want to pause this. I don't want to ruin the flow of this. There's like various method actors who would do things like they would just like run up and down just off stage. They would like off stage at the edge of the curtain, they would just be running in circles before they come on stage, because it would really kind of get them into the role. And honestly, this is Zach method acting. Not saying that he's doing anything like malicious or he's not being authentic, because it does feel very authentic. But it is just so good to see that he's like putting those sort of skills to use. And it's kind of a weird thing to describe, but when you get out of breath, everything sounds more emphatic. And when you go from, from your normal pace to running, and then stop, everything just it's difficult to describe, but everything just gets grounded. So everything that he's saying kind of hits harder. And I love that. I love that about it.
Yeah. I think the first thought immediately when he started talking about, he started running actually, was pretty much explaining capitalism and the need to constantly move. And for most people, they are drowning under the weight of not just capitalism, but specifically bills, rents, mortgages, cost of living. And I think that's an extremely good way of creating a story and narrative through feeling, because we are constantly running just to catch up. He mentions about how wages haven't kept up since 2008, and him saying that whilst running and getting faster and faster and faster is basically telling the story that we are running just to keep up with what we had before, not even getting ahead.
Yeah.
And I think it basically I think it's a great way of showing how the 99% are falling behind while the 1% are going ahead.
Mm.
So that was my immediate thought. I thought visually, the Green Party has been far better in terms of their filmmaking. They've obviously hired someone new,
Yeah.
and the quality has got better. Specifically on excuse me, on color grading.
Mm.
I like that it's gloomy. Now, it was similar to sort of when Jeremy Corbyn was Labour leader, the video footage, the color grading was a bit more grey because it was telling a story that, let's be honest, everything is shit and we want to make things better. It was more grounded. It was, B-roll of the streets and, similar sort of style to that, people walking down the road. And I thought it was more grounded and more powerful. And then you'll notice when it comes to the Labour Party under Keir Starmer, their videos, especially leading up to the election,
Mm.
they specifically wanted to celebrate Britain, and their color grading was much brighter, much more colorful. And on the surface, you might say, well, that's a good thing, right? But the problem is a lot of people, let's be quite honest, are not happy with the state of Britain. There's not a lot to celebrate. People are alienated and angry and worried. And I personally think it sends the wrong message to sort of slap on beautiful colors, increase the contrast, when in reality, the way people feel is quite gloomy, quite grey, quite unsaturated, or the saturation's been pulled out. So I thought visually as well, once again, it hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, like I think that there's also a comparison to be made. You're right to make the comparison between Labour and the Greens political broadcast, but also with Mamdani's, because I think it is very Mamdani-esque to like, do this video where there's like a big visual metaphor, the running, but it's soft enough that it still feels like authentically British, and with that authentic British pessimism without directly copying Mamdani. And Mamdani does these things, like he did a Valentine's Day one where he went round and and talked about like halalflation and things like this. Like going around and doing that sort of thing, but it was exaggerated American style. This felt like authentic, bit pessimistic British style. It's acted, but it's not overacted, if that makes sense. Really, really good. And again, points he was making, absolutely fire. Like, absolutely love it. Like it, and I think it feels authentically true to us right now, because it does feel like we're struggling to keep up even the basic standard of living that we, had 10, 15 years ago. I think that does feel authentically true. Sorry, some of these messages are just kind of setting in for me. I
think to jump in, I'm glad you brought up Mamdani, because a lot of people have taken the wrong lesson here. Specifically from British Liberals. I've seen a couple of Labour MPs do it, where they've done a carbon copy of Mamdani. His style, very colourful, very contrasty, lovely, beautiful fonts, retro fonts, and you've seen people try and do that with cool music in the background. This is the twofold point I want to make. The first point is Mamdani had substance with it, so you can't just do Mamdani-esque style campaign with no policies, which is what Liberals have been doing. The Labour Party, not the Labour Party campaign as a whole, but individual Labour MPs. And secondly, you hit the nail on the head. To try and do a carbon copy of Mamdani misses British culture and the sort of pessimism that we have more over America. Americans, even though they're in deep shit, I do feel, my personal view is that they have a far more optimism and energy, I think. Whereas I think us doing, or Zach Plancy doing a carbon copy of Mamdani, we would probably laugh and cringe at it. I think the way to go is once again more grounded. So I think you bringing up the idea of British pessimism is a very salient point.
Yeah, I think shifting people's perspectives is one of the things that like Zach is trying to do here. And also I notice in terms of settings, and I saw this before as well with the first party political broadcast, where he was just like on a street with cars parked down the side. All of the settings are very urban. And I think this is a good sign, because it shows that the Greens are like focused on a target demographic of young people who overwhelmingly live in urban areas. And yeah, targeting the message at sort of like progressive people who tend to be concentrated in urban areas is a good thing, because Zach doesn't want to win, 80%. I mean, it'd be great if he did, win like 80% of the public over. That's not the idea, right? The idea is to win over 20% of the public that then come out and vote for you and feel really passionate about your message, feel like passionate about making hope normal again. And just having that as a target, you can clearly see that he's like picking his settings. He's trying to be smart about it. And it's just, honestly, it's just good to see.
Well, it feels deliberate this time. Whereas if you contrast this to old Green Party political broadcasts, and some of them have been very good, by the way, but typically they feel like we just need to throw together something. We'll have someone speaking at the camera. We'll put in some nice, hopeful music, and we'll sort of, it's the old kind of message of, hey, we're the Green Party, we're the nice party. And look, I think hope, the feeling of hope, isn't one feeling. And I think hope, there's different strategies of hope. And I'll explain what I mean by this. Is there's the sort of, I think, fake hope, or the hope that you're trying to ram down people's throats, which is the old Green Party message, which is, we are very hopeful, vote for us because, vote for hope. I think hope works when you ground it, firstly, in anger and the problems of society. Because first of all, anger is a very powerful tool. Of course, you don't want to put out a message of anger and then the end sort of message is to say you should just continue to be angry. Messages like Zach's video there was a message of hope, but it wasn't done in a way in which, oh, everything's great, or at least everything can be great. I think he starts off with a very pessimistic message, a very grounded message to get you anxious, worried, or angry. And then that then channels into the end product, which is we can do better. And that is something the Green Party has missed. When you listen to their music, it just feels like stock happy music. Whereas it feels like this time the music's more somber. I think the tone, the visuals, and the music cuts deep to something real. And that's what real hope is. I get sick of seeing politicians saying, oh, we need to have hope in our lives. And there's no sort of driving anger or pessimism or anxiety underneath it. It just feels like, let's just pretend that we can be hopeful. Whereas the Greens under Zach, he's giving you something to be angry about. He's telling you that, yes, you are right to be anxious and worried. Feel those things, and then we transform that energy into something better. And that tells a nice story.
Yeah, it's the idea of like Keir Starmer with change written 1,000 times behind him, and then you come into the election and you get past the election and nothing actually changes. Like fundamentally, everything stays the same. You still got the same Tory style austerity, same demonization of refugees and trans people. Like, whereas this is like, it's actually like, I can't remember the exact phrasing. Sorry, this is literally the first time we've heard it. But it was something about how energy should be seen as something which is supposed to be there to serve the community rather than make dividends for billionaires. And it's like, yeah, that is like a genuine shift in your analysis of the world, a shift in perspective, unlike Keir Starmer's change, which is literally just the same thing but wearing a different color tie. It's like, yeah, we need that kind of if the left is to present itself as a genuine alternative and something that is like, to the average working class person feels like, okay, if I vote for this, I'm actually voting for an alternative, which is something we've got to take away from Nigel Farage, because currently, I'm sorry, but the default currently at the moment is I'm voting for Nigel Farage because I want something different. And if the left is going to change that, because they think they've seen the right and the left, they think they've seen, oh, well, we had the Conservatives for years, that was the right, and then we had Starmer, and that was the left. In reality, what they've seen is we had the Conservatives for years, and then we got the Conservatives with red ties. And we need to show that in a big way. So seeing Zach come out here with this very visual message, trying to get the idea across, beautiful music, beautifully color graded, as you said, very kind of authentic, to deliver that message of we need a shift in perspective. It's so good. It's so good. There was a thing I was listening to about storytelling, and some of the best stories focus on a singular aspect as a theme that runs through it. And so it might be an old cobbler who would make shoes with his hands, and it would be from the perspective of his granddaughter who tells about I remember my grandfather's hands as they peeled grapes for me, as they fixed these shoes, and then they would I remember holding them in the hospital in his final moments, that very much focused down on the hands, and in a similar way Zach's done a brilliant visual storytelling thing here, but focusing down on the idea of running, of movement. It's not as exactly pointed on a single item, but more on that theme, and that's just really nice to see for the message of we need a change that feels genuine. We need a genuine shift in perspective. I love to see that.
Do you think?
Go on.
Do you think people convince them? You see that video there? Do you think people would be convinced by that broadcast?
It depends who you're talking about. I feel I know somebody who's a civil servant, and I was talking to him the other day, and he was saying, "Oh no, I can't with Zach Polanski. He's a trickster. He tricked women into." Getting therapy to enlarge their breasts and all that stuff. And I was like, oh my God, you've been lied to the degree that no matter what Zach says, you'll shut down. But I think to a person who isn't that poisoned against Zach, this might be the difference. Them watching that video might well be the difference between them going, I'm kind of not really interested in what my local Green Party is doing. I might vote for them come the election, but then again, I've got my ear out on what the Lib Dems are doing, and them actually getting out on the ground. It's not supposed to persuade the reform supporters as a whole. It might, because it's genuinely authentic and people do appreciate that. Right, left, it doesn't matter. But it's not supposed to persuade the reform supporters. I think it's supposed to motivate people who are in the base and the soft base to actually get out there and create that change. Make them believe that by getting behind Zach and getting behind the Green Party, they can actually see that world. They can actually have a world where hope becomes normal again. I mean, what was your kind of read on that in terms of
well, I mean, there's always going to be a cohort. There's always going to be a cohort of people that you're never going to convince, and that's fine. That's just how the world works. Yeah. I do think, though, previous Green Party sort of broadcast videos weren't out to convince people. I don't think. Whereas this is now the second official broadcast under Zach Polanski, and I think it's the second one to knock it out of the park. And I think that there are going to be people who are convinced, because they're going to see this as the Green Party are serious. They are serious about reaching to people. They're serious about talking about the issues. And they are a party that doesn't just want to appeal to tree huggers or whatever, but actually they are interested in people's material well-being. And I felt like that, felt like a Labour Party campaign video, a good one, not a Keir Starmer campaign video, but a good quality, working class focused Labour Party campaign. Again, very similar to the Corbyn era. So I think there will be people convinced. There are going to be some people who are not going to be convinced. But obviously, it's just one broadcast. But this is a microcosm of the new leadership style of Zach Polanski, and it's all going one way. It's moving away from the nice Green Party where we like to sort of individualize things, like do your bit for the environment, to no, we need mass politics on an industrial scale vis-a-vis climate change, war, and the economy and people's material conditions. And I thought, I'm going to be honest, I thought it was a fantastic broadcast.
Yeah, I think he's done really, really well. And I think you're so right to highlight just the material conditions. Cost of living first is how the left wins. It really is, because like keeping everything on culture war, regardless of which culture war aspect it is. And don't get me wrong, we're right on the culture war stuff, but you need to lead.
It's a lot harder. I think we acknowledge it is a lot harder, whereas the economics and the material side is the easy win for us.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Zach knows what he's doing, and I think he's proven it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Just on the cost of living stuff, I think everyone has to eat. Everyone has to like get the, not everybody will experience ableism. So focusing on ableism or trans rights, not that we shouldn't stand up for these things again, but like focusing on those things as the primary, your vanguard, would always be.
And also
an error.
Also, trans people or those with disabilities also face classism, also face issues with their material well-being through the lens of the economy and class. It's a unifying message, which I think class first. It's not class reductionism and ignoring these issues. You can go through the Green Party manifesto and it'll be extremely socially progressive. But when you're outward looking and speaking to the country, you pitch it through the lens of class. And I think they're doing the right thing.
Yes, 100%. And to release it at this time of year as well. Last Monday was Blue Monday, when trigger warning, but suicides in the UK and maybe around the world as well, but certainly suicides in the UK are at their highest. It's supposed to be like a really sort of like, okay, this is like the depths of winter, really, really depressing. We really, really hate life at the moment. And I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. So for Zach to release this now is like, it's really good timing in terms of that, because the message of like everything feels so exhausting and we feel like we're running just to keep up a basic standard of living. At the moment, particularly, loads of people are going to feel that. So those first few lines are going to draw people in. Really like sound stuff in terms of marketing from Zach and the Greens. I really want to see, because I don't want Zach to be the only person on the scene. I really do want to see other people, Moth and Ali, Rachel Millwall, maybe some people from your party come out with political broadcasts like this, because the more of this stuff we have, the better. Zach, you can't be the only one on the scene. Absolutely love it. Same as Mamdani, he can't be the only one on the scene. I really do think we need to make sure that this is like versatile by making sure that there are lots of people like Zach who have these kind of media skills, and getting that stuff out there so that the left is resilient. It's sort of it's protected by the amount of support it's got. It's not relying on, it's not a one-legged stool. It's a stool with multiple legs, and obviously the more legs it has, the more weight it can support, the more the more pressure it can take. I think I really want to see your party. I really want to see other people in the Green Party taking this sort of energy and moving forward with it. We should as well, like as Turn Left. There's things about like audio and stuff and the music that I want to take from that, because the music was just so well fitted to the footage. Like it just been really, really well done. I'm wondering if they chose the music first and then after they chose the music decided what they were going to put to that music, because it just fits so well. And we could learn from that, and like other left-wing organisations, the Canary, the Green Party, your party, I don't know, Double Down News, to kind of create these things, because that was what we want to see from the left of British politics in terms of media output. I don't know if you agree on that one, Curtis.
No, I do. Absolutely. Everything you said was superb. And I think the left as a whole is getting serious.